Level 1. The world they built. You are born into a country that tells you it is paradise. Every school lesson begins with the same 3 words. The Great Leader. Every classroom has his portrait on the wall above the chalkboard, and the portrait of his father and his grandfather. And you learn before you learn to read that these men are not just leaders. They are gods in the specific practical sense. They see everything, they know everything, they have given you everything, and without them, the world outside would devour you. You believe this completely until you are 9 years old. At 9 years old, your father does not come home for 3 days. When he returns, he does not explain where he was. He does not speak at dinner. Your mother does not ask questions. This is the first lesson nobody teaches you directly, that the absence of questions is its own form of knowledge. You learn to read the things people don't say. You learn that certain words cannot be spoken at full volume, that certain thoughts exist only in a sealed room inside your head that has no door visible from the outside, that the neighbor's son who disappeared last spring did not move somewhere else, that the family who was there on Tuesday and gone by Thursday went somewhere that nobody returns from. The country is a performance, and you are a performer, and the performance is your survival. You learn this before you learn mathematics. Level 2. The hunger. The famine comes when you are 11, not all at once. Gradually. The way a tide goes out, so slowly you don't notice it, is leaving until the ground is exposed and dry and you are standing on it, wondering where the water went. The food distribution system, the public distribution system that the state has used to feed the population since the Korean War, begins to fail in the mid-1990s, and what follows kills somewhere between 240,000 and 3.5 million people, depending on which estimate you believe. The government does not count the dead publicly. You count them personally. The boy 2 houses down, your aunt in Cheongjin, the old man at the end of your street who you pass one morning, on the way to school lying against the wall, and do not pass on the way back because someone has moved him. You eat corn porridge. Then you eat corn porridge with less corn. Then you eat things that are not food in any normal sense. Grass, bark, whatever grows at the edge of the path to school. Your body changes. Your thinking changes. Hunger is not just physical, it rewires cognition. You spend significant portions of each day thinking about food with a focus that crowds out everything else. This is when the black market begins. Your mother starts trading at the Yangmadang, the informal markets that spring up across North Korea during the famine as the state food system collapses. She trades small things, clothing, tools, whatever can be exchanged for something to eat. The state calls this illegal. The state is also letting people starve. You watch your mother make this calculation and file it in the sealed room with no visible door. Level 3. The information. You are 17, the first time you watch a South Korean television drama. It comes on a Chinese DVD that a man sells in a cloth bag at the edge of the market. You watch it on a small television with the volume low and blankets over the windows in a room with 4 other people who are all pretending they are not watching a South Korean television drama. The drama is not about politics. It is about a family, arguments, romance, a woman choosing between 2 men, completely ordinary human content. But the apartments in it have full refrigerators, and the streets have cars that are not military vehicles. And nobody in the drama is being watched. You watch it 4 times. You find more DVDs. South Korean dramas, smuggled Chinese films, eventually through channels that involve 3 separate people who each know only their portion of the chain. A recording of a South Korean news broadcast. The news broadcast shows Seoul. You have been told your entire life that South Korea is a wasteland, that its people live in poverty and fear under American occupation, that the North Korean way of life is superior in every measurable dimension. The streets of Seoul in this recording look nothing like a wasteland. You put the DVD away. You sit in the dark for a long time. The sealed room inside your head is getting crowded. Level 4. The Song Bun. Everything in North Korea runs on a system called Song Bun. Song Bun is your inherited political classification. It is determined by what your grandparents did, what your parents did, what your family's relationship to the regime has been across 3 generations. There are 51 subcategories that sort into 3 broad classes: loyal, wavering, hostile. If your grandfather fought with the Japanese during the occupation, hostile class. If a relative defected after the Korean War, hostile class. If a family member has been in a political prison camp, hostile class. You are hostile class. Your grandfather was a Christian minister. This means the university that accepted your application defers it indefinitely. It means the factory job you applied for goes to someone whose grandfather did something more useful. It means when the neighborhood watch committee reviews the block, your family is reviewed with particular attention. Hostile class people do not get promoted. Hostile class people get watched. Hostile class people understand implicitly that they are tolerated rather than valued, and that tolerated is a temporary state dependent on continued compliance. You have been compliant your entire life. Compliance has given you nothing. The sealed room gets one more piece of information, and the door starts to feel different. Level 5. The decision. There is no single moment. People outside want there to be a single moment. A dramatic break? A final straw? It is not like that. It is an accumulation, the famine, the DVDs, the Song Bun. Your friend's older brother who was taken to a labor camp for telling a joke about the leader. Your mother's hands getting worse every winter from market work that the state calls illegal while providing no alternative. The portrait on the classroom wall that you have looked at every day for 17 years. The accumulation reaches a weight you cannot carry anymore. You find a broker, not openly. Through the Zhongmadang network, through people who know people, through conversations that happen in specific coded language that both parties understand and neither ever makes explicit. The broker charges money you do not have. You spend 4 months gathering it. You sell everything sellable. You borrow from a relative who does not ask why. You do not tell your mother. The broker tells you the route. China first, then south. He tells you the risks plainly because he cannot afford you to be surprised by them mid-route and make a decision that burns his network. In China, if you are caught, you are repatriated. Sent back, interrogated. Labor camp or execution, depending on what they decide you did or who you talked to while you were gone. He says, if you are repatriated, do not mention my name or the names of anyone in the chain. You say, I understand. He gives you a date. The date is November 14th. The Tumen River in November is cold enough to kill you before you reach the other side. Level 6. The river, November 14th, 3 a.m. The guide walks you and 2 other people to the bank of the Tumen River in darkness. The Tumen is the border between North Korea and China at this point. 40 meters wide, cold, running fast in places and slow in others. There are guards. North Korean border guards on your side, Chinese on the other. The guards on your side have been paid. This is what part of your money went to. Not their compliance exactly. Their willingness to look at a different section of the river for 20 minutes. 20 minutes. You enter the water. The cold is a different category of physical experience than anything you have previously felt. It removes the ability to think clearly. Your body wants to turn around. Every instinct you have says the bank behind you is the correct direction. You keep moving forward. The current is stronger mid-river than it looked from the bank. You are shorter than the man ahead of you, and the water hits you at chest height where it hits him at the waist. You hold the plastic bag above your head. Inside the bag, and a change of clothes. The address of a contact in Yanji, 300 Chinese yuan. A photograph of your mother that you know you cannot keep past the first safe house because photographs are evidence. You reach the other bank. You climb out in China. You are soaking and shaking, and the guide is already moving into the tree line, and you follow him because standing on a riverbank in wet clothes at 3 a.m. on the Chinese border is not a place to make decisions. You made the decision. This is just what comes after the decision. Level 7. The underground. China does not want you. Officially, North Korean defectors in China are illegal economic migrants, not refugees. The distinction matters enormously. Refugees have legal protections under international law. Economic migrants can be returned to their country of origin. China returns them, which means the approximately 30,000 North Korean defectors believed to be in China at any given time live in complete invisibility. No documents, no official existence. Moving from safe house to safe house through a network of Korean Chinese brokers, Christian missionaries, and ordinary people taking significant personal risk to keep them one step ahead of the Chinese police. You move 4 times in 8 months. Each safe house is different. A basement room under a restaurant, a farm outbuilding in Jilin province, a small apartment in Shenyang where you sleep on the floor with 6 other people and do not go outside during the day. You work when work is available. Farm labor, kitchen work. Things paid in cash to people who technically do not exist. You learn to live without an identity, without a name anyone knows, without the ability to be sick or lost or in any kind of trouble that requires official help. Your photograph of your mother is gone by the second safe house. You memorize her face instead. Level 8. The route south. The Underground Railroad for North Korean defectors runs south, not through North Korea, not back across the Tumen. South through China, across the border into Southeast Asia, usually Laos or Myanmar, then into Thailand, where the Thai government, unlike China, does not repatriate defectors to North Korea. The journey from China to Thailand takes somewhere between 2 weeks and 3 months, depending on the route, the broker, and what goes wrong along the way. You travel with a group of 11 people. A Korean-Chinese broker leads the first leg. A Lao guide takes over at the border. You cross into Laos on foot through mountainous jungle terrain at night, carrying nothing that makes noise. The Mekong River crossing into Thailand happens on a wooden boat at dawn. When you step onto Thai soil, you are allowed, for the first time in 14 months, to exist. You walk to the nearest police station, and you turn yourself in. This is not surrender. This is the procedure. You declare yourself a North Korean defector seeking asylum. The Thai police detain you. This is expected. Thai detention centers hold defectors for a processing period that can last weeks or months before transferring them to the South Korean embassy. You wait. Level 9. Hanwon, South Korea. You land at Incheon Airport, and the first thing that overwhelms you is not the size or the lights or the modernity. It is the food smell from the airport restaurants. Every kind of food, available to anyone, for money that ordinary people have. You spend 3 months at Hanwon, the resettlement center outside Seoul where all North Korean defectors are processed before integration into South Korean society. You receive basic education in how South Korean society functions, banking, transportation, the internet, how to rent an apartment, how health insurance works. You also receive psychological evaluation. The evaluator asks questions about what you experienced. She is professional and careful and kind. You answer some of them. Some of them you answer with the practiced deflection of a person who spent 20 years never saying the thing they were actually thinking. She notes this. She does not push. She has done this many times before. At Hanwon, you meet other defectors from different provinces, different generations, different reasons for leaving. An older man who was a former party official, a woman who was sold to a Chinese farmer as a bride and spent 7 years getting to Thailand, a teenager who crossed alone at 15. You are not the same person as any of them. You are all the same person as all of them. Level 10. The other side. You have an apartment in Seoul now. Government subsidized. 40 square meters. The refrigerator works. The heating works. Outside the window, a city of 10 million people who have never once considered whether they would be allowed to eat today. South Korea has 34,000 North Korean defectors. South Koreans call you Setyeomin, new settlers. Some are kind about this, some are not. You speak the same language but differently enough that people hear where you are from in your first sentence. You use words that haven't been used in the South since the 1950s. You don't know certain cultural references that every South Korean child grows up with. You are Korean. You are also from a country that does not exist here. You take classes. You work. You study for a high school equivalency exam because your North Korean diploma is not recognized. You are 24 years old sitting in a classroom with 17-year-olds learning things that are new to you and old to them. At night, you think about your mother. You do not know if she knows you are gone. You do not know if she is alive. There is no way to know. There is no phone call you can make. There is no letter that can travel that route safely. You left her standing in a country that calls itself paradise while you crossed a river in November to find out if something else was possible. Something else was possible. That is true. And it contains a cost that nobody on this side of the river could have told you about in advance because it is not the kind of cost that has a name in any language, you know. You close the window. The Seoul night is warm and lit and full of people who do not think about rivers at 3 in the morning. You make dinner. You eat it. You are here. That is the thing. After everything, the sealed rooms, the hunger, the river, the basements, the jungle, the waiting, you are here. What you do with here is the question that begins now. The question that was always the point.